You know when you practice a cook and you practice it again? Well, I've done that, and today didn't quite go to plan, but it still tasted absolutely epic. Oh, welcome along to Barbecue Life, home of the Kamado Bono. Today we are cooking a Thai red curry inspired salmon with some cauliflower style rice. So it's not proper rice, it is cauliflower, but it tastes absolutely wicked and works perfectly with this dish. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get our marinade for our fish sorted out. So I've already taken some onion and garlic and got them chopped up. So we've got a large clove of garlic going into the bowl. We've got a quarter of an onion going into a bowl, and then we're going to use a dessert spoon of red Thai chili paste. So whop that in there, and then we're going to go on with 5 tablespoons of coconut milk, just to loosen that up and really help with our marinade. So we get that mixed together nicely. Pop that over to one side while we sort out our fish. So our fish today, as I said, is salmon. So this is wild line caught salmon. I did spend a bit more money on it, but if you want to be buying some cheaper bits, then that is completely up to you. It'll work equally as well with both. I'm just trying to be a bit more ethical with where I'm sourcing my fish and meat these days. So what we need to do is we need to get the skin off of this. So I recommend using a boning knife that is nice and sharp, and we just take our skin, have that flat along the board, and then take our knife and pushing down in towards the skin and slicing along. You'll be surprised how quickly and how easily the flesh will come away from the skin. Once we've got the skin off of both fillets, we can chop these. So I'm just chopping these into 4 equalish sized pieces. I know that it's going to taper off towards one end, so we are going to get a smaller end there. But if we make that piece slightly bigger than our thicker end, then it'll even things out. All in all, once we've got it all chopped up, we want to get it into the bowl, make sure that we get it nicely covered, get a lid on that, and get it into the fridge for about 2 hours. You don't want to be going too much more, because the fish will start to break down and then it can just become too mushy. You are going to get some fish that does that anyway, as you're going to find out in a minute, but 2 hours is about right for flavour being able to be soaked into the fish and the right consistency out the other end. So as I said at the beginning, we're doing a cauliflower rice today. So this is a cauliflower head, so we just take off all of the green off the outside. Don't throw that away, stick that in stir fries and things like that. The edges of cauliflower work just like cabbage, so you can boil them up to put your roast dinner. You can chop them up and bung them into a stir fry. They work really, really well. So we're just going to take that off, and then we'll take our whole head of the cauliflower, trip off the woody piece off the very, very bottom. Then we'll take the head, chop it in half, chop it in half, chop it in half, so we've chopped it into 8ths. That just gives us nice manageable sized pieces to go into a blender. So for this dish today, we're using half a head of cauliflower. The other half will go into, bagged up, go into the fridge and be going into another dish later on in the week. But we pretty much, you stick that in a blender, you stick it on blend, and you get rice sized pieces come out the other end. And it gives you that texture of rice, but it's got more flavour than rice. It's better for you than rice, and it's just absolutely epic. It doesn't feel as heavy in you, so you don't feel as like lethargic and things after you've eaten. It works really, really well. So we're going to take that out of the blender bowl. Now we've blended it down, get that into a cold skillet, and just get that put over to one side while we get our Kamado lit. So we're lighting our Kamado today. I'm using the electric lighter that I picked up from Kamado Kings. They sent it to me a long time ago. We did a video on different ways of lighting the Kamado the most efficiently, and this did come out on top. So if you want to check that out, please do look back through the previous catalogue. But it just injects heat into the coals, gets things going, and then we dial in our vents as we would normally. So we're aiming for quite a high temperature today, 200, 250, something like that. So 2.5 in the top vent on the numbers, and then about 3 fingers in the bottom vent gives us a nice roaring charcoal across the bottom, because we want to, with this cauliflower, we want to get some gnarly bits on there, and we want this salmon to be able to pick up some colour as well. So once we've got our temperatures dialed in, that cold skillet that's already got the cauliflower in there, we're going to pop that into the Kamado, and you can see that we've set things up. We've got a higher level for one grate, and we've got a lower level for the other grate, and that is just in case any of the salmon falls off the skewer, and that will catch it. but we want the cauliflower on the higher higher setting, not vent. So once we've got that on, drop a little bit of oil in there, give it a stir through, and that will just help lubricate things and give us a nice crispy rice a bit later on. So we're going to shut that lid down, leave it for a few minutes. That skillet's going to take 5-10 minutes to start really coming up to temperature. Once you can hear that cauliflower starting to sizzle, we're going to go back in again, give it another stir, and we can get our salmon on. So with our salmon, we're going to get this onto a skewer. So I've got large, long skewers that I picked up from Amazon a long time ago. I'll make sure I leave a link underneath. And we just skewer that on, leaving a gap in between each piece so that we can make sure we get plenty of flavour and smoke and things around this salmon as it's cooking, and it will help things cook more evenly as well. So we get it onto the skewer, and then we can pop it on next to that rice. So we're putting it in the middle of the Kamado, right next to that high grill grate, because that's the nice hottest part of the Kamado. Pop that on, shut down the lid, and we're going to leave that again for about 3 to 4 minutes. So that cauliflower rice is building up a bit of crust on the bottom, and we're cooking through our salmon with the lid closed. After that 4 minutes, we want to go in, we want to loosen up that cauliflower rice. You can see that we've lost some salmon off the skewer. As I said, you can practice a recipe a million times, and then one time I go to film it, it goes wrong. So as I flip it over, another piece falls off as well. So I think when I bought the salmon, I had a good look at it, but when I did get it out of the packaging, it had got a few slits cut into it. It hadn't been mungered, I suppose is the right word, fish mungered, particularly well where it's been done. And it's left me with some softer pieces, so that is why it's fallen off the skewer, which is a bit annoying. But all we've got to do is we've got to get that off that lower grate, because it's too hot for it down there, and get it up on that higher grate next to the skillet itself. So the reason we're not just cooking it on the grill grate is because fish is notoriously known for sticking, especially when we haven't got the skin on there, which is why we're trying to do it on the skewer itself. But 95% of it is stayed on the skewer. So we want that lid shut again, and we're going to give it another 3 or 4 minutes. By this point, we know that our cauliflower is going to be nearly cooked through, and our salmon is going to be nearly cooked through. Now, I did lose a bit of footage in a minute, but just before that, we're going to be putting on our tender stem broccoli. So we're just going to nestle that on top of that cauliflower, and the steam that is still coming out of the cauliflower and the residual heat and things is going to cook that tender stem broccoli, warm it up and cook it just so it's just al dente, so you get a really nice bite through at the stalks, and the heads are beautiful and soft, just the way you want them to be. At this point, I did add some umami oomph powder, but you could add any rub you wanted to, something like SPG, something not too overpowering, not got too much flavour, just your general seasoning. Umami oomph powder works fantastically with cauliflower rice. We're eating it all the time in our house at the moment. It's definitely a recipe that we're all really enjoying. But I did put that through, and that is a piece of footage that I've lost, unfortunately. So we'll give that a nice toss through. You want to be adding that right towards the end, because that pan is incredibly hot, and when you put the oomph powder in there, it hits the bottom of the pan and it tends to burn and stick. So we toss that through just as we're taking everything off. Take that off, get it onto a little trivet off to one side, and just let that chill out, because that pan is incredibly hot. Go back into the Kamado, and we can check to make sure that our salmon is cooked through. 63 degrees is the magic number. We've hit 64, so we are wicked for taking this off. So I didn't film plating it up, because where's the need? All I did was I put the cauliflower rice down, and then I've got my my tender stem broccoli off to one side, and I've just dropped the salmon on top of the cauliflower rice just to make it look really nice. If you want to add some extras just to really finish off the presentation, then make sure you give it a nice squeeze of lime. It gives it a nice kick towards the end. And then I've just gone on with some coriander leaves sprinkled across the top, and some red chilies just to add an extra bit of heat. And that is it, it's done. We've got no taste test because it was a bit noisy out in the garden. I was quite hungry as well. And the taste tests take ages to get the camera set up from where we are filming over to here, front facing camera, mic'd up and all of that. All I wanted to do was eat. but I can assure you that it tasted absolutely fantastic. It's most definitely something we're going to be keeping on doing in this house. There's other fish I want to mix it up with. If you're not a fan of salmon, then you could use cod. You could do this with prawns. It'll work equally as well with an array of seafood. But it was absolutely fantastic. If you like what we're doing here at Barbecue Life, then please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.